Hi there friends, it's Stefan from CodeWalk Empire. Today we're going to build an RSVP or an invitation app using latest Next.js 15 with Tailwind and Shadcn UI. For the backend and database, we're going to use Supabase, which is a great Firebase open source alternative, and Resend for sending emails. At the end, we're going to deploy everything to Vercel. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Now, let's see what we're going to build. This is basically an invitation app. In this specific case, it's for the wedding, where you can invite guests to your special event. Here you can see details about the event, event date, which is rendered on the calendar. You can also open precise location. This will open up a Google Maps with the location you specified. And below there, your guests can add name, email, and of course a company. Here they can specify whether they will be or not at your event. Now let's test this out. For example, John at gmail.com, and here let's say one more guest. Now we can say yes, we'll be there, and press this. All right, the message is successfully sent. And of course, we can check the email. This is our email. And as you can see, we as admins will get, right after the form submission, direct email to our inbox with the guest's info. All this data is stored here. This is a Supabase database. And of course, if we go back here, we can log in as admins. So let's go to this route. Currently, we are not authenticated, so we need to log in. All right, this is admin dashboard. So as you can see, we can check all the information about our guests, whether they are attending or not. This table is also searchable. So for example, I can search it like this, and so on and so on. If we press here, we can go back to initial application. Of course, this application is highly customizable. In my specific case, I decided to create a wedding RSVP application since I recently got married, and of course build this application for my purposes. But all this will be stored in a strings file where you can change strings and, for example, create the same application for birthday events, for some business professional events, and so on and so on. All right, now let's jump into coding. First, let's go to Next.js website and copy this command. Now open up your terminal, cd into desired directory where you want your application, and paste this command. Let's continue, let's proceed. Here you can name your application, let's say RSVP app. Yes, I want to use TypeScript and ESLint and Tailwind. Nope. Yes, app router. All right, now here we have option to use a turbo pack. That's a bundler, basically optimized for JS and TypeScript, which is written in Rust. And built by and built into Next.js. For now, currently TurboPack only supports Next Dev and does not support Next Build. So for this project, I'm going to skip it and continue with Webpack. So no, nope. And now let's proceed to installing all dependencies. Great, it's installed successfully. Let's now cd into our directory. And just type code dot. This will open up our project, and the next step here is to open up a terminal, go back to your browser and go to Shadcn. So here, and press installation. We are using Next.js, so click here, and we are using, of course, Next.js 15 with React 19, so latest versions, and let's press here. So on this page you can see a great explanation on using npm. So basically we might need to use force currently for now, and that's not a problem at all, don't worry, just for us to easily install the components, as you can see. So now let's go back and follow these commands. So npm, I'm going to use npm and I'm going to copy this command, get back here and paste this. All right. Okay, I'm going to use everything default here. As you can see, yes, we are going to go with the force, as I mentioned it to you earlier. And great, that's all. Let's go back and import some components. So for this application, we are going to need a couple of them. Let's go here and let's install them all. First things first, let's add button. Okay, so I'm going to copy this command, open up here Visual Studio and paste it. Yes. Okay, let's go back and search for input component. Yes, copy it, go back and paste it again. Great. Now let's search for label. I'm going to copy it again, paste it here. Yes, use force. Then let's search for a radio group. We are going to need that also. Same procedure. Paste it. Use force. Great. And the last component is toast. Let's add it. Same procedure. Yep, use force. And that's great. So here Shadcn generated this components.json file here for us and added a lib, utils, hooks for toast, and of course all of our components. Now let's see what we got. So npm run dev. All right, let's open up our localhost 3000. And here we are. Now let's go to the Visual Studio Code and do some cleanup. First, here in page, I'm going to remove this div and the closing tag also. We don't need a footer, only main. And let's remove everything from main. Let's remove image. And this is fine. Let's remove this and this. Let's say oh. All right, it's working. Now in app folder, I'm going to create a new folder called components, and inside let's create a new file called RSVP form.tsx. Let me type RFCE and save it. Then go back to page and let's import it here. All right, let's check it out. Great. Now let's build this form. There are two paths we can go down here, server side or client side. In this specific case, I'm going to go with the client-side component since it will require some interactivity. But later on, we're going to have another form, which will be a login form. And that form is going to be a server-side form. Nevertheless, both of these components, both of these forms will be connected with server actions. So let's start building this. First, I'm going to add some imports we're going to use now. And then inside our function, inside our component, I'm going to add states that we're going to use. So all this code will be available on my GitHub repo. Make sure to check that out, or just pause the video and add it by yourself. As you can see, here we are using map pin from Lucid React. So let's install it. Lucid/React. All right, let's go down there, remove this and add some classes. Great. Inside we are going to add an h1, and this is where we are going to have a title. For now I'm going to hard code it like this, and later on we are going to add a strings file from where we are going to pull all the data. So let's add some more class names here. Great. Down there, this is going to be a description. And for the class names, some margin bottom. Now let's add a new div here. And here, label. This is going to be a details. And for now, let's add a p tag where we're going to show a date. All right, let's add a new block with the class name of mt4. So add some margin at the top. And inside we're going to add a button where we're going to show an icon of this map pin with class names of, let's say, with full. And here some strings. Let me just cut this and add it here. All right. Now below this block, we're going to add a form element. So form. With onSubmit handler, and here we're going to create a function called handleSubmit. We're going to add this function here. So for now, just some console log. This form will have some divs, and let's add class name, some spacing, so we can use some Tailwind class, let's say 6, for create spacing in between the divs. And here, let's add some classic form elements. So label HTML for name. And here we're going to add a name string. Below that, let's add input with ID of name, value. It's going to be this. So from the state variable name, and then on change, let's call a set name in this case, e.target.value. Classic React stuff, and this will be required. Now below this input field, I want to show errors if we have them. So this is the error state. So let's say errors.name. If we have that error, let's render a p tag with the class name of text red 500, small text, and let's add some margin top. And here we are going to write that error. So basically this object, this error is going to be an object. So whenever error happens, we will store it here. For example, name, some error, something like that basically. All right, now I'm going to copy this, paste it down below, and this will be email variable, and then here set email. For the errors, I'm going to update this, and this will also be required. Now let's copy again this. Another form element is going to be company. This will go a company string. Same here. And set the company. However, this won't be required. It will have a default value. So let's say this type should be number, okay, and the minimum value should be 0. So basically here, if we don't have a company, we want to have an empty string. Great. Now let's copy this again. This is going to be our final block of the form. So here, this is basically going to be a RSVP question. So let's say some RSVP label. Again, I will update this right after we finish this form. So no worries. And here we don't want this. I'm going to remove it. Also, since this is not required, we are going to remove this. We don't want to show these errors. And here I'm going to add a radio group from Shadcn components. And for the value, we are going to have attendance. So this state. So default is yes. And here we have on value change prop. And we can here pass basically the setter function from the state. That's enough. All right. Inside radio groups, we are going to have a div block with a class name of flex, items center, and let's add some spacing like this. Inside, I'm going to import radio group item, which is a self-closing tag, and default and value here is yes, and for ID, let's say yes. Okay, and right after radio item, we are going to add a label, which will have HTML for yes, so basically it will refer to this. And here we are going to pull from the strings yes string. Okay, we don't need this here. Let me remove it. And I'm going to copy this div block, paste it down below, and only change here to no, no, and no. And the final step, at the end of the form, we are going to add a button, which will have type submit. That's great. And we want to disable this button when isLoading variable is set to true. Initially is set to false, but when we are handling submit here. When we are submitting to the form, we are going to set it to false, to true, sorry. So we can disable it while the API call is active. So for the strings, let's say if it is loading, then we are going to add something like sending. Else we are going to say submit, something like that. Also we can pull this from strings. Okay, later we're going to add this calendar, and let's see. So we are not using this. So here, set attendance. That's true. Set is loading. This is fine. This is fine for now. Okay. Let's see what we got. Oh, okay. Let's go back here, and this is a client component, so we need to mark it like that. All right. So this is our basic form. Now, as you can see, we don't have a content here, so let's fix that. I'll go to my Visual Studio, and inside app, let's create a new folder called utils. Inside utils, let's create a new file called strings. All right. Now I'm going to copy this. So as you can see, this is a strings object with different key value pairs. So all the content for this application, for this page, will be pulled from this file. So in order to, for example, if you want to create a different kind of application, you can just update these strings. And for example, instead of wedding RSVP, you can create, I don't know, birthday RSVP or some special event RSVP and so on. So let's go back here and let's import this. So strings from strings. All right. And now here, instead of title, we're going to type strings dot title. Okay, let's open like this, and so it's now easier for us. Here we're going to put strings dot description. Here strings dot event date label, and inside let's put new date, and we need this, so event date, and let's say to local date string for now. Here we're going to use strings dot view on the map, so this. Then here strings dot name label. This is email label. This is a company label. This is RSVP label. This is yes option, and this of course no. And here let's say strings dot submit button. Okay, we have an error here. Or no, let's see. Oh, event date is not defined. Well, yeah, this is because we need to add strings.event date here. Okay, let's see now. Oh, yeah, this is because of the date. For now, let's go to layout, and here in body, let's type press hydration warning while we're developing, and later when I add calendar, I will remove this. So I think this looks all right for now. And yeah, let's add a calendar. Let's go to Shadcn website. Yep, and search for calendar. And this is the one that we're going to add to our website. Let's go down there, copy this command and open up new terminal and paste it. Yep, use force. No, we already have buttons, so we can skip that, and yep, that's all. We can kill this terminal, and now let's go back to our form. And we can now comment out calendar, right? Let's go down there and comment this, and we can add our calendar for Shadcn UI. All right. Now let's add some props. We'll use single mode. For the selected date, we are going to basically use this one from strings. So let's say new date and pull from strings event date. All right, let's add some class names. So all right, let's see what we have. All right, this looks good for now, but as you can see, we can select, click, and everything. So let's fix that. Let's add from date prop, which will be basically equal to this date. And also to date, it's going to be equal to the same. This already looks better. Now let's add a default month. This will be also equal to this. And ISO week prop. Okay, if I save now, reload the page, as you can see, we are going to have selected the date, which is pulled from strings. All right, that looks good. Now, wait a second. This button is not aligned well. Let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, this class name should be here in button. We can also say this type of button. I want to be outline. And we will add a handler now here to this button. So basically on click, let's say call function open Google Maps. We're going to create this function in a minute. Let's add it here. So open Google Maps. Perfect. All right. That's okay for now. Let's see what we have. All right, it looks better. Okay, I think this looks good. And now we can go and I will close this. And now when we press Google Maps, we want to open desired location. And what is that location? Well, this one. As you can see, we basically can add a string like we would search in Google Maps. So let's see how to do that. Let's go to our browser, and here let's search for Google Maps developers URL, something like that. Let's go here. And if you go down there, you're going to see this. So basically we can use search functionality from Google Maps and search through this API endpoint desired location. So let's copy this. Let's go to our Visual Studio Code, and here we can write window.open. And let's paste this here. Now, instead of parameters here, we are going to add a query string because we are searching a query, right? And then in a variable, let's add strings dot event location. And let's see what we got now. If I press here, this is working, but one thing we can improve, as you can see down there, we need to construct a valid URL. So for example, pipe characters or empty spaces need to be encoded in the final URL. So let's do that. Luckily in JS we have a method for that. So let's say encoded location. It is equal to encode URI component, and here we need to pass strings dot event location. And now let's paste it instead of this and save. Let's go back and try again. As you can see, it's working good. All right, I think that's all. And we can move on. All right, next step is to create a database for our project. And for that purposes, we are going to use a Supabase, which is an open source Firebase alternative. So let's press here, and you need to log into your account, or if you don't have one, you need to create it. So let's press here. For these purposes, I'm going to create a new account. So let's go down there, and I'll use my email, but you can also create an account using GitHub. Okay, now check your email and confirm your registration. All right, now you need to create your own organization. So, all right, this is a personal free plan, of course, and let's create it. Okay, now we need to create a new project. So let's call it, in my case, RSVP demo. Now you need to create a password for your database. Make sure to be a strong password. It's a good idea to save this password to your password manager, for example, since I think this is the only time you're able to see it. Okay, now you need to choose your region or the region that is closest to you. I'm going to use Germany since I'm in Europe, and let's create a new project. Now, before we continue furthermore, we need to connect our project with the Supabase account. And we can do that with the project URL and this API key. This is a public API key. So let's copy first this project URL, go to your Visual Studio, and let's create a new file here called .env.local. Now let's create a new variable here and paste it like this. Now down below, let's create another variable. I'm going to name it next public Supabase anon key, and here we can paste this API key anon public, copy and paste it here. So it's important to name your env variables for them to have a prefix next public. All right, let's save and we can continue building our application. Regarding the database, Supabase under the hood uses SQL database. So let's go and create one. We can go here, database, tables, and then let's go and create a new table. So let's call it RSVPs. This is okay. Row level security. And now for the fields. Of course, ID. Create the @fault and let's add some more columns. We're going to need a name. And this is going to be a text type of data. Another one is going to be email. And this is also going to be a text type of data. Then let's add a company. And this is going to be an integer. And let's add attendance. This is also going to be a text type of field, basically with yes or no. I mean, we could do this like with Boolean, but I think it's fine like this. Okay, I think we have everything, so we can now press save here. And the table is created. All right, next step is to install a Supabase to our Next.js application. So as you can see on Supabase docs, you have this getting started section with the Next.js. But here, as you can see, they suggest to create the next app using with Supabase, so basically a template. And since we have already a project, we want to add Supabase to current project. So here's the docs. And as you can see, this is documentation for app router or pages router or hybrid route strategies. We are currently using app routers, so we are going to go with this. So first steps, let's install these dependencies. So this one, open up a new terminal and let's add now. As you can see, this is the error because we are using current version of Next and npm. So what we need to do is the add -- force. As I mentioned it to you on the beginning of this tutorial, and we can do the same for this package, Supabase SSR. So -- force again. Perfect. Now, next steps. As you know, we already added these envs to our project. So now, here's the important part. We can use Supabase on the client and on the server. We have two options here. Basically, we are going to go with the server since our communication with our database is going to go through server actions, as you can see here. So let's create utils, Supabase, and server ts file. I'm going to copy this from here, go here, and here are the utils, Supabase, inside server.ts, and let's paste this. Next step, go to app and create a new folder called actions. Inside actions, let's create a new file called submit RSVPs. Submit RSVP. First, I'm going to mark this with use server. Then I'm going to import create client. So from utils Supabase server. So from this. All right. And then let's create a function async one, of course, called submit RSVP. This function is going to receive a form data as a parameter, as an argument. Since we are working with forms. And then first step is to initiate client from Supabase. So let's say Supabase is equal to await create client. So this function. Okay, now let's get the data from our form. So basically here, when we handle submit, we are going to call this function and send all this form data. So we are sure we are going to have a name. So let's say get name. We can repeat this step for all other fields. Alright, and now when we have all these values, we can call Supabase. So await Supabase. Alright, first things first. We need to get a table called RSVP. So these RSVPs. So how we can do that with Supabase? Well, we can just call from and then name of our table. In this case, it is RSVPs. Alright, now what we want to do? Well, we want to insert some data. Okay, so this is going to be an array and we can add name, email, a company, and attendance. So here we can return directly that data and error in case we have it. Alright, let's now just say console log data. Perfect, and I can add, so if we have an error, let's console log it. Let's say something like that. And we can of course return something like that. So we can return this message, we can return specific error and success just for our front end part of application. Now down below, let's, in case we don't have error, so if call is successful, we can then just return true for success, and let's add a message. Let's say RSVP submitted successfully. Okay, I think this is all right, at least for now. So let's go back here and create this handle submit function. Okay, of course, let's first add prevent default. And of course we need to add it here as a param. So this is a form event. All right. Now let's first check if we have or don't have name. So in case we don't have name, let's add error. So this is going to be name and message name is required. We can do the same in case of email. So email, message is email required. And let's just return this and here. So just a reminder, here if name is empty, we're going to show this error. Although we already added required prop here, I'll do this just in case. Okay, now when we have this basic client-side validation, we can get form data. So form data is equal to new form data. And now let's append. This is how you work with forms. In JavaScript, now you can append all the values you want to form data. So append name. So basically key value. So for name, we are putting name value here. We can do the same for the rest of the values. Now let's see here, we have a type error. Because this is a form data, we need to add strings, and this is type of numbers. So let's, if we don't have a company, for example, as you can see, we don't want to send null, but we want to say send basically this. Okay, let's console log here, see what we have. Okay, where is our, oh, okay. Let me just run server again. So let's go here. Let's open up a console and let's send some data. This can be empty, and yes, okay. Let's press here and let me see, this is empty. Oh yeah, I'm on Chrome. Have issues on Chrome with form data. I usually develop in Firefox. So let's go back here and let's actually go here and to see if everything is working. I'm going to comment this and console log this data. So let's do it like this. Then we can go back here and let's say response, it is equal to await. Yeah, this should be a async function. Okay, and now let's call submit RSVP from our actions, and we can pass this form data. And now we should be able to see here our logs. So let's try it, send. And yeah, as you can see, here is the data we sent. Perfect, so this is working. Now let's go back here and can remove this log and comment out all this code. All right, perfect. Now here, before actually calling this async function, this action, we can set loading state to true. All right. And here we can check. So if response dot success, so just reminder, so here if this is true, what we can do, well, we can call toast. So this one from Shadcn, and we can say for the title success, and for the description we can pull from strings. I think it's called, yeah, thank you message. And if it is successful, we can basically reset form here. So set name, it can be empty string again. For the email, the same. For the company, actually think this is null. For the attendance, default value is yes. And we can clear out errors, so empty object. Else, so if we don't have success, we can call toast again. With error title. For the description, we're going to send, so from response.message. So in this case, we should get, for example, this message. And the variant should be destructive. Okay, I think this is good for now. And as a reminder, here I'm going to add comments to check if email is already submitted, the RSVP. So this will be a to-do. We can add that later on, based on error code from Supabase. All right, let's see what we got. So test mail. Okay, yes. Let's press send. So loading state is working. Oh, I think we forgot to actually set loading to false. Okay, let's do it here. Okay, I think we can remove this. So let's see. Okay, we have error inserting RSVP. This is error code. New row, violates row. Oh, okay, I think we need to add row level security here. Okay, then let's do that. Okay, let's go back to Chrome and let's search for row level security. And here inside the docs, you're going to see explanation on why you should use them. And what are the policies. As you can see, it's basically a Postgres role engine. So let's say set of rules that protect your database. So for example, you can set rules that only authenticated user can access database or edit, delete, and so on. Okay, so let's go here and let's check table editor. And here, click on our table. As you can see, it is empty for now, but you can go here and press add RLS policy. Then go to here, click create, and now let's define our first policy. So for this project, we are going to have two policies. First one is going to be allow anonymous inserts. So basically that means that users don't have to be authenticated in order to write to our database. And that's because of the nature of this application, so we don't need to create the user sign-up flow in order to send us a response to our event. Basically, the only protection would be that email and name fields would be required. All right, and the second rule, it will be basically like an owner access rule, where all the RSVPs, all the answers would be only accessible to us as owners of this application. Okay, now here you have some templates you can use, but I'm going to create a custom one. So let's first add a policy name. So let's say allow anonymous inserts. Okay, permissive is fine. Policy will be for insert, and only what we need to do is add here true. So permissive insert public with check true. Okay, let's save this policy. Okay, policy is created. So Let's try again our application. So let's go, we don't need this, let's go here, let's reload this, and let's say this is okay, and send. All right, let's see. Okay, this should be fine. Okay, this should be fine. Let's check it out. Okay, so we can see that we have one insertion, but let me go here, here, and yeah, here, as you can see, we have ID, which is automatically generated, timestamp, and all the data we need. This is great. Now let's see why we did not solve this toast. That's probably because we need to go to layout. We need to import actually toaster component. Yes, from Shadcn UI. Now let's go back and test it again. Let's say test. Let's say sorry, I can't make it. Success, thank you for your response. Form is cleared, and I think in database we should see, yeah, perfect. This is great. Now I think we can go and create another action for getting all the RSVPs, and of course appropriate UI for that. Let's go back to VS Code. In Actions folder, let's create a new file called get RSVPs. We're going to add use server directive here, and this one actually is going to be really simple. So first let's import create client from our utils, and then let's go down below, export on async function called get RSVPs. And we can do like in this. So this is totally fine. Initiate our Supabase client. And then here we are going to call await Supabase from RSVPs. So basically like here, but instead of insert, we want to actually get data, and the command for that is select. And since this is a basic table, the only table we have, we can use this. So we can get everything. Okay, now in case of error, we are going to extract error from here. So let's first extract the data and error. So in case of error, let's console it, let's log it. Okay, that's for us developers, and then let's return success false, and let's return message. Okay, if we don't have error, then let's actually return the data. So success true, and let's return data. All right, that's all. Later on, we are going to add a middleware where we are going to check if user exists and if it can actually get the data. But for now, let's go to pages. But I think we don't have them, so okay. So okay, let's create a new folder. Like this, pages. So this is only for us to be easier to read. So inside, let's create a new folder called admin. And then let's say RSVPs. I mean, you don't have to do that. You can basically create a page under the admin, but for me it's fine. Maybe we can scale this application in another tutorial. So, okay, page.tsx, And this is going to run on a server, of course. So let's say export default async function like this. And we can, of course, await get RSVPs action directly here. And this action returns success, should return data, and should return message. Okay, if it is available, of course. So let's go here and return some basic page. With some padding. Now inside, let's add another div with some class names. So here basically we'll create some kind of nav bar. So h1, let's say all RSVPs, and then add some class names. Down there another div, also flex. So here let's add a link from Next, which will bring us back to homepage, right? Inside we're going to add a button. So this from components with a variant of outline. And inside let's add house icon from Lucid React, basically to go back to homepage. Here we are going to add logout, but later. For now I'm only going to add a button. Yeah, let's add outline variant again and sign out. Okay, below this we need to add a table. So we can create a separate component for that. Let's go here, new file, and let's say like this. This will definitely be a client component since I want to add some search, some states for filters, let's say. So use client. So here I'm going to paste this. So let's first import it. Table. Oh, we don't have table. Let's see, components. Yeah, we need to install it. So let's go here, Shadcn table. Yeah, we're going to use everything from here. And first, let's copy this command in new terminal, just paste it. Yeah, we installed it. So I'm going to paste all the imports. And now what's the catch here? So definitely we are going to receive a date. So we are going to import this here. All right, and we're going to receive some data. For now, it should be an empty array because we don't have data. But here we need to add a type. So let me just add it like this. So this is basically from our table from Supabase, ID, name, email, and company attendance, and let's assign it here. No, this will be for, let's do it like this, interface. RSV table props, and here for the data we are going to add this type. So we can pass here this RSV table props. Okay, now what are we going to do with this data? Well, we can basically add it here, all right, and just show it, but I want to have some ability to filter them, to search them, and all the search will be done on the client. So in this component, and how we can do that? Well, first let's create a state. So filter and set filter. So use state. So when we search, when we type, we want to add basically a search filter. We want to search by the name of the data, right? Okay, and now I can achieve that. Well, let's create filtered data. So this one here, all right, and that will be equal to React use memo. So let's return. Actually, we are in React 19 now, so maybe we don't need to use this. We can just do it like data dot filter RSVP, it is equal to, so RSVP dot name. We are filtering data by this. So name, let's say to lowercase. So if that includes what? Well, this filter, the letter we are typing in the input field, to lowercase. And that's all. All right, I think this is good. Now here we imported that, and basically this data can go here. And in case we don't have data, we can just pass an empty array. So this is fine for now. Later we're going to add here check. So basically if we are not authenticated, we want to redirect to login page. All right, let's test this out. So we can go -admin -RSVPs, right? And here we should have, oh, type is invalid. Forgot to export your component. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's save it. Let's see now. All right. So this is looking good for the UI, but as you can see, we don't have access to data. So let's see why. Let's see what's going on in Visual Studio Code and get RSVPs action. And here simply just console log the data and see if server is working at all. So as you can see, this is an empty array. So my guess is there is a problem with the Supabase. And yes, yeah, if you remember, we added a special rule for allowing anonymous inserts. So for now, for testing purposes, we're going to add a new rule. So let's create new policy. And for select, we are going to do basically the same. So let's say allow anon select. So important part, this is just for testing purposes. Later on, when we add authorization to our application, we are going to create a new level security policy for allowing only admin to access all the RSVPs. So let's just select this. Let's just add here true and save policy. So now let's go here and reload the page, and yeah, here is the data. Great. Let's see if filtering is working. Yep. Nice. Okay, so this is good. Now let's go and continue building our application. All right, next step for this application is to create some sort of authorization system. So only admin, or basically we as owners of application, can access this page. So idea here is to first create a login page, and then if someone tries to access this route, we'll do a check if there's a user, and if there's not user, we're going to redirect to login page. The check will be done in Middleware, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first, let's create a login page. So let's go here. In pages, let's create a new folder called login, and inside a new file called page. Now let's create a page. And inside, let's create some basic HTML. With the height of screen. Now inside, let's create a form. Something like that. Later we're going to add an action here, but first let's add h1, for example, admin login, and add some class names. Below h1 we can create basic input fields with labels. So let's first import it here. So input, we're going to use also a label. So from components, and we're going to use a button. All right, let's use them down there. So it will be email, and type email also. And of course this field is going to be required. And above, let's create a label for this. So for email, and let's say email. Okay, let's now wrap this with one more div with the class name. Let's add a bit spacing, so let's say 4. All right, I'm going to cut this and paste it here, and I'm going to again copy this and paste it down below, and this will be password. So HTML for password, and then here again, and type is password. All right, this looks good. Now here I'm going to add error state a bit later, based on errors if we have them while the sign up process is occurring. And let's add here, yeah, inside this div, let's add a button. This will be a login button. So type submit, because we are in the form. And let's make it full width. All right, let's see what we have. So here, all right, this looks good. Now next step is to create a server action for logging in. So for the backend part of this, let's go here and in actions, let's create a new file called auth. Inside, I'm going to create a function, async function, sign in. This for now is going to receive a form data. So this, right? And inside, let's do it like this. So email, it is equal to form data get email. So this should be string, right? And we can do the same for password. Let's for now just log this. Let's go here. Let's import this. All right. And for the action of the form, we are going to use a new hook from React 19. Let me just go here, search for use action state. So while this was in beta version, this was called, I think, use form state, right? And here you can read more about it. But basically this hook have these parameters. So this one is optional. This one is a function, basically. A function for whatever function we want to use when signing up, for example, in this case. And this is the initial state of the form. So you can read more about it here. But basically what I'm going to do is, let's first import it. So use action state from React. And this is similar like a use state. First param here is state, so default state of the form. And the second is basically a form action. All right, and this for action is going to go here. And now this, for the first param, for the first argument, is going to be the function we need to pass here. So in our case is sign in. Okay. The second parameter is I'm going to add a null because this is a default state, right? So here, as you can see, we have a TypeScript error because the sign-in function, this action, needs to have as arguments initial state and form data, right? And here, as you can see in auth, we are just passing a form data. What we can do here, we can add another argument. So let's say previous state, and this can be null for now. All right. So for this case, I'm going to isolate this function above. So let's say async function. Let's say sign in action. Okay, this receives previous state. Let's say prev state. That could be null, and also a form date of the type form date. And this is going to return await actual sign in action, right? Like this. So we can now safely add this here. And now let's see. Oh, okay, this is currently not returning. So this will eventually return maybe error, but for now it's void. So let's say here void or null, and here also void or null. All right, let's test this out. Oh yeah, we need to mark our component as a client component because we're using a action state. Okay. Now let's see. Something login. Nothing is here, so let's check our browser. Let's do it again. Oh, so here it is. Yeah, let me just mark this as a server. So let's try again. Let's see here, and yeah, post login, and this is the data. All right, now let's see. Yeah, before continuing with this, we need to set some better rules. So let's go here to Supabase and here to Auth policies. As you know, for testing purposes, we added select to allow anyone select, so basically a public role. But what we need to specify it only for us to be able to see this as owners of application. And how we can do that? Well, that's actually pretty simple. Since this app won't have a registration flow, only login flow, what we can do is go here to users under the authentication tab, and here we can create a new user directly. So here you need to add your email as an admin and password. So let's do that. And auto confirm user. Perfect. Now when we created this user, you're going to find here this UID. And this is going to be useful. So let's copy it here. And let's go back to policies. And for this policy, let's go here and actually delete this policy. Now let's create a new one called owner access. This policy is going to be applied to all, since we already have for this. Basically, it will apply to everything else. For the target roles, let's set it to authenticated. And here under the using, this is important part, we need to trigger some function. So you can do that by typing auth.uid. So when we try to log in, this is going to be triggered, and inside this auth method we have UID. We need to compare it with our UID. So basically only who can access this page is going to be us, and that's all. So let's paste this, we copied earlier, and we need to disable this. I think we can save it. And yep, that's all. So now I think if we try this, yeah, as you can see, no results. And this is fine for now. So we secure the backend part, and later we are going to secure the front end, the client part. We'll basically add a redirect to login page. All right, we can now go back to our Visual Studio Code, and then here create a function. So let's initiate again Supabase. So await create client from our utils, from server. All right, and now we can, here we are going to receive, let's first call it, so await Supabase auth, and now important sign in with password, this one. For the arguments, we're going to pass email and password, and basically that's it. That's all. So here we are going to have error or actual date, right? So of course you can log the data here. If like this, if login is successful, and here if we have actual error, we can return it. So for example, error should be, let's actually pass message from error. Yeah, something like that. If there is no error, we can feel free to redirect. So I'm going to use redirect from next navigation. Yep. And where do I want? Well, login is successful. I can go to admin. So this RSVPs. And that's all. Okay. Now this should, I think we can now remove this void. Let me see. But this, instead of void, we need to return error. So basically we can access that error from this state. That would be initial state. In the initial call we would not have error, but if the form submit is not successful, this state will receive what? Well, this what we return, in this case error message. So we can update our types. So here, let's say error, and this will be a string. Okay, and we can also add it here. So error type of string or null. Yeah. So basically, if now this state would have access to error. So we can do that here. So if state error, if error exists, then we can render a P with some red color. So let's say class name a red color, some small text definitely. And this we are going to write that error. We don't need this because we are checking it here. All right, I think this is good. So just quick recap. This form action, we are passing it here. This is basically a sign-in function. But because we are using this action state, we also have access to initial state. Initially, this is going to be null, but in case if this is not working, it's going to return error, this object. And because of this, we are setting basically previous state to null or error. In case here we returned null, then it would be perfectly fine. But I want to have errors. I think it's easier for us to understand if error happens, right? Okay, so now I think we can test it out. But first, important part here, the most important part actually, is to add a middleware. And let's do that. Now, middleware in Next.js allows you to run code before a request is completed. So middleware runs before cached content, and there are multiple use cases, as you can see here. But the one we are interested in is authentication and authorization. So as you can see, we can ensure user identity and check session cookies before getting access to specific pages or API routes. So now I'm going to go to the docs we've been before. And if you remember, the last step we were in was this one, when we were created a Supabase server client. All right, so now we need to hook up a middleware. And as you can see, we need to create a middleware file at the root of our project. this one, and of course Supabase middleware in utils/Supabase folder. As you can see, the middleware is responsible for refreshing Auth token by calling this, and we need to use it, as I said earlier, because server components can't write cookies. We need a middleware to refresh expired Auth tokens and store them. So let's do that. I'm going to copy this piece of code, open up VS Code, and here let's create first middleware. And of course, let's paste this line of code. But as you can see, we don't have this yet, so let's create it. So in app, utils, Supabase, let's create a new file called middleware also. All right, now let's go here and copy this line of code. All right, I will just disable TypeScript for this because we are not using it. And now we need to do some changes to this code. So basically what this code does, it updates a current session before any request is made. So as you can see, this is a familiar piece of code when we have some cookie manipulation. And important part here is, like in the docs said, do not remove get auth, do not remove get user. In this line of code, we are checking for our user if it is logged in. And now we want to update a bit this. In our case, we need to update this. I'm going to remove this line and I'm going to remove this. So we are checking if we don't have user and if the path name of the root starts with admin. So if we don't have user, if you're not authenticated, then we want to access everything under the admin route. Okay, if that's true, then we can create this URL and add this path name login. So we are going to redirect to login. All right, let's see here. Cannot find, let's update this a bit. So let's remove it. So app, utils, Supabase, and middleware. Okay, this is now correct. And let's see what we got. Okay, let's try to access it. So admin RSVPs. Okay, this is working good. We are redirected to login. And now let's try to log into our application. I hope you remember your credentials. It's the user we created earlier. And login. Okay, I think I have some error. Oh no, it's working. Nice. We can add some loading state. I wasn't sure if it is working, right? Okay, so now as you can see, we can access it. And let's go back to home. And let's try to add another one. Let's say let's add 2 guests. Okay, let's try again. Let's say 1 guest. Yeah, why not? Jordan. Let's say Jordan, mail.com. Unfortunately, I can't make it. Perfect. So this looks good. Now let's see if we have them all. All right. Let's say Jordan. It's here. Perfect. Now let's implement one last feature, at least for authentication, and that is sign out. So let's go here. Let's go to auth.ts, and this will be pretty straightforward. So export. So sign out function. This also is going to be in server. I mean, this is not necessary because we marked whole file, but you can also do it like this. And we can also again create client. And with this, we can say await this sign out. And that's all. We can of course redirect here to login, but basically middleware will do this for us also. So let's call this function. I think this should be under the pages, admin, and here. Let's add form here. It's easiest. Button will be inside form, and for the action, we are going to call. I'm going to just simply import it here. So app actions auth. Yeah, that's the one. All right, we can also use this. So let's say if success. So from this function, if success is false, let's basically redirect the user, and we can also check. No, let's do it first like this. So let's return a div with the class name of container and some small styling, and let's say error, it is equal to message. Yeah, so sign out should be working. Okay, let's sign out. All right. Okay, this works. This works. This is fine. In case the app broke, we would receive a message here. So this is okay. All right. Now, one more step I want to do is to, when someone actually responds to this, I want to receive an email. Okay, so let's do that. And for that purposes, for sending email, we are going to use Resend, which is a great piece of software. It will help us automatically send emails after the form is submitted here. So let's sign in, or you can create an account if you don't have it. For these purposes, I'm going to log in with the Google account. You're probably going to see some different interface if you first time created an account. But the important part, I'm going to create a new API key for this project. So I'm going to click here. Let's name our API key. Let's say, in my case, RSVP demo. All domains, yep, add. Now, important part, you need to remember this API key. So we can only see it once. I'm going to copy it here and store it to my password manager. I suggest you do the same. Okay. Now let's go to VS Code, and in env.local, I'm going to add another variable, resend underscore API underscore key. And I'm going to paste this one. This is confidential data, so of course I will remove this API key after tutorial as the rest of them, so no worries. Now we can go to submit RSVPs, and inside we are going to create function for sending email. But first, let's install Resend. So here in the docs, we created API key. We don't want to verify domain for now. I think this will be out of the scope of this tutorial. So let's copy this command, open up a new terminal and install it. Oh, okay, we need to use it with -- force because of the npm. Perfect, this is installed. We can kill this and let's go back here. So as you can see, in ideal case, you would need to create an email template, for example, like this. And this email template is used for your emails. So this Resend package goes really well with the React email. It's a library that helps you build great UI for the email, which would be accessible to all the major browsers and email clients. But for these purposes, we don't want to use that. We are going to stick it to simple. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, this is for route. This is for API. Yeah, which is basically the same. So let's copy this first. Let's go here and here. Let's paste it. We need to import Resend. So let's do it here. Yeah, so Resend from Resend. Now down below this error, let's create a try catch block. And inside try, inside catch, let's say console error, and let's log out this error like this. And inside the try block, let's await resend. So resend.emails.send. Okay, here I'm going to copy this. And let's go line by line. So this is actually an email address from where the email is going to be received. In our case, since we are sending it only to us, to ourselves, we can use this address. So I'm just going to rename this to RSVP. But important thing is this address needs to be here, onboarding@resend.dev. If you want to send from your own domain, you would need to verify. You would need to buy actually first your domain and then verify it and then add it here. This process is out of the scope of this tutorial, but I will create a separate tutorial for this where we are going to go through buying domain, connecting everything and so on. So this field is where the email should be sent. So I want to send the email to myself. So I can add here my email. So let's say blogdev@gmail.com. For the subject, let's say new RSVP submission. Okay. And here I don't want to use these email templates. I want to add some basic HTML, so we can add HTML with backticks. Inside backticks we can render a basic HTML, and let me just copy this. Of course, this is all going to be available on my GitHub. So basic HTML, we have h1 with the RSVP submission heading and a couple of p tags. So what's the name of the respondent, what's the email, number of guests and attendance. Obviously everything is pulled from here. So when the user submits, we insert that data to our database and everything is correct. Then we are going to send all that data to email. So now let's save and test everything. Here, let's say Levi. Yep. Yes, I'll be there alone. Send. Okay, let's check our email. Okay, there is no email, and in resend, no email. Let's check our code. I guess I misspelled this. Sorry for this, guys. My test dev email. So it's saved and let's test it again. Okay, thank you for your response. The email the email is here. Let's first reload this. You're going to see this. So in the Resend dashboard and also here. So new RSVP submission, Levi, perfect. Let's test it again. All right. Here is new email. All right. This looks great. Yeah, so I think this would be all, but first let me go here, and this, because I want this to be some kind of template, I'm going to cut this, go here to env and add email to variable here and paste this. Okay, so from here, I want to be easy for you to update this to your own email. So you basically would need to update it here. Then let's go to strings. And yeah, as you can see, just pulling it here. And all I need to do now is go here and let's say strings send from email. So this variable. Oops, sorry, send to email. Okay, you can do it. You can also add this later when you have your own verified email. So send to email. This is why TypeScript is so good, because in case you forgot to add it in to env, right? We can actually do the check. So if there is no send to email in strings, basically if there is no in env, right, we can console error. And of course I can return some data here. Okay, this is good. And now let's test everything. So let's say Mike, sorry I can't make it. Thank you for the response. So the email is sent. We can find it here again. So from Mike Portnoy. And also here. All right, guys, I think that's everything now. And we can now deploy this application to Vercel. Now, one more thing I want to do before continuing with the deployment. I want to enable this email field to be unique. So for example, if someone already subscribed or responded with specific email, I want to render some notification that it's already responded, right? So because we need to update this table and we already have a couple of the same emails, first I'm going to delete all 11 rows. And now I'm going to edit this table. So edit, and here in email, let's select this is unique. So now we can save this. Okay, let's test it out. Sorry, this is an email. Okay, this works. Let's try it again. Okay, failed to submit. Great. Now let's see. If you check here, you're going to see that it runs code 2305. So we can go to RSVP form and here do a check. For example, if response.error and if response.error.code is equal to, well, this one. All right, we can set errors. We are sure that it is the same email, so let's say email already exists, or whatever you like. Okay, let's test it again. So we can this. Yep, as you can see, email already exists. All right, I think this is good. So now we can deploy this app. Alright, when you create a GitHub repo and push your code to it, you can connect your GitHub repository with Vercel. I already did this in some of my previous tutorials, so if you don't know how to do it, make sure to check out, for example, my blog video. It will be down there in the description. And for the rest of the view, we can proceed to Vercel. Your project will be shown here, so just press import, and we can now name it. Important part, click here and paste all of your variables from env, right? From env.local, and after that just press deploy. Now we just need to wait a couple of seconds. Okay, I have some problems. Okay, this definitely looks like a problem we had when we were installing Shadcn components because of the npm. So I would say that we would probably need to update this build command. So let's check it out. Let's check out Reddit. Yeah, it's a similar one, so yeah. Okay, let's try with this. So we need to override install command. So let's add this and try again to deploy. All right, we made it, guys. This is great. So now let's see. This is our link. And here we are. Our application is live, up and running. So guys, if you made it so far, thank you very much. I hope you liked my tutorial, and in case you did not subscribe still, please do so, and see you again in the next one.